Hello, everybody. Okay, the following is a peer-reviewed article that goes over a map of Tartaria and more. The following is for research purposes only, trying to understand the authenticity of the map. So let's get right into it. Alright, hello everybody. So today I wanted to do something different. We're going to go over this Tartaria map to see if it passes a peer review. Um, was Lawrence Fries, 1525, Strasbourg, Ptolemy, Atlas complete? Or were two maps omitted? So the abstract is two manuscripts, maps, one of the Pacific and the other of Russia Tartaria, have emerged since 2009. In this article, they are described in detail, set into context, and an argument is offered for identifying them as having been made in Strasbourg for the Tabulae Moderni. I believe I pronounced that right in Latin, because I know in Latin the AE right there, I know that has a strong I sound, like Caesar should actually be pronounced Kaiser, I believe. Uh, Although I'm not too certain of it. I've just briefly studied a little bit of Latin, but I think I got that much from it. So the Tabulae Moderni section of the 1525 edition of Ptolemy's Geography. Had the two maps been included as intended, they would have completed the modern mapping of the world. Okay, and then there's some keywords right below it. I'm not going to read this verbatim. I'm just looking at the information. So they're wondering, I guess, where all this came from. Um, okay, so Ptolemy drew right here drew up a list of more than 8,000 place names with coordinates, longitude and latitude, that cover the world between whatever these two words are, but 0 degrees and 180 degrees east. The other half of the world was then unknown. When plotted, his list of places results in 10 maps of Europe, 4 of Africa, 12 of Asia, and one of the world, together totaling 27 tabulae and tabuli and TQI. Early modern mapping, more than 1,000 years later, required adaptations of Ptolemy's maps, giving rise to the Tabulae Moderni. The process of modernization was first applied to existing Ptolemaic maps. But when this became too difficult, the modern maps were separately designed and added to the old ones. The Portuguese and Spanish voyages of discovery brought about fundamental changes in Ptolemaic maps of Asia and completely new ones for southern Africa and the Americas. Okay, so we got a little background. So let's... Right now we're just trying to understand, and I might skip to the end, but I'm just seeing if there's anything that's very interesting in this. Okay, so I was talking about the two maps. Um, one, um, um, has to do with the Americas, and the other one's titled Tabula Moderna Tartari, and shows Russia from the Baltic to Scythia, east of the. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at these maps. These maps are in here, and it says here are the results of both studies. Here, the results of both studies, and the person's conclusion right here is that the two tabulae are final drafts for new tabulae moderni that were to be included in Runinger's 1525 Ptolemy edition. Sorry if I mispronounce things, but oh well. However, it would seem that the maps were never printed for reasons of time and religious strife. Thereafter, the drafts were lost, and their existence remained unknown to historians of cartography until now. Their rediscovery provides fresh insights into tabulae moderni in general, and into the earliest mapping of Russia, Siberia, Mexico, South America, the Pacific, and the Philippines in particular. So, and he brings up, why did they disappear? Let's find out. Okay, it's talking about some examples of the mapping process survived. The highly detailed drafts for at least 5 of the county maps of England. Okay. Hold on. Okay, it's talking about how Gruninger reached an unpacific agreement with Scott that allowed him to produce a new edition of the Atlas. Okay, and when he went to publish it, the man in charge of the publishing was Lawrence Fries. It's not fries, because when you have the I and the E right there in German, you pronounce the E. Now, if it would have been E-I, you would have pronounced the long I, but you pronounce the long E in this instance in German because it's Fries. Okay. So, Lawrence Fries was neither a native of Strasbourg, nor originally a mapmaker. He practiced as a doctor and astrologer, and was a productive writer. Okay. Man, it talks about how Fries reduced Waldseemüller's maps, except for the Tabla Ajai 5, for which he used 1520 woodblock. He therefore needed to have 46 new woodblock cuts for each of which is potentially disposable manuscript worksheet must have been provided. Okay, so we're talking about the materials. Okay, but let's see here. Okay, so here's one of the maps in question. See right here, we got Mexico and South America, it looks like. And then here's another one you see where we have Tartaria. And then going down some more. Okay, so okay, now it talks about like the 1522 Ptolemy edition was heavily criticized by some professionals, but it was a commercial success. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. And this kind of puts it more in a larger picture, if you see. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not going over this in very big detail. I know exactly where I want to go, but I just wanted to show, uh, kind of the overall script of everything. And then, so, here's like some of the things, like the ink on the maps and text was examined by X-ray. Um, you know, kind of goes over that. The final observation of the physical characteristics of the maps is that a stylus or hard point of some sort and a ruler were used to mark out the frame of the map. But one of the things that I'm doing this is to show that these maps were really, like, they actually put effort and time to making it. And back then, if it was fake or they didn't believe it or if they thought it was a forgery of some sort, they weren't gonna do this. Like, this was a specialized process. Uh, then it talks about Magellan Strait a little bit, and I think that it's in there. Okay, right here is a good one. Details from the text of the Tartaria tabula showing how the groove left by the preparatory work with a stylus shows up white, indicating the gray of thumbing came after the groove was made. Okay, it excludes Portuguese territory. Still looking, I'm just kind of... Something very important I'm going to show here soon. Okay, here's... Okay. Again, analysis of the origin of place names on the Tartaria tabula supplies no reason to think that the map was made after 1525. Okay, so here we go. Okay, February 1525, and that the only serious candidate for the mapmaker is Lawrence Fries. Corroboration of the likely date and the authorship is provided by a small but significant detail: the correction of the map number of the Tartaria, or the Tartary tabula from 41 to 27, which can be logically explained in only one way. And it goes into detail about how the maps in the 1522 geography had no map numbers. For unknown reasons, it was decided to give each map in the 1525 editions a number on the back at the end of the text. Only the two world maps did not get a number. Okay, it's just talking about how they numbered them, but had already been numbered 41. Okay, so it goes over that. But the main thing right here that I wanted to get into is the question of authenticity. Inevitably, the unheralded appearance in the 21st century of one, let alone two, 16th century manuscript maps raises eyebrows among map historians and connoisseurs. Perhaps even more when they are purported to have been created for a specific publication. From what has been said above, readers may already have been encouraged to accept the pair of draft maps described in this article as genuine. In all our investigations into them, the possibility that they could be forgeries was foremost in our minds. Proving authenticity is more difficult than proving fakery. However, many arguments might point to authenticity. One objective and conclusive counter-argument would be sufficient to confirm doubt. No such argument has been raised or found. On balance, taking all evidence, arguments, and counter-arguments together, a case of forgery can be safely excluded. So these maps were not forged. And then let's go into why. The three most persuasive characteristics against the notion of forgery that emerged from the physical inspection. Okay, one concerns the ink. Okay, three slightly different inks have been identified, indicating intervals between their mixing. The ink used in the drawing of the cartographic image, the ink used for the underlying in the text on the back, and the ink used for the correction of the Tartary map, number from 41 to 27. it is difficult to see how a modern forger could have anticipated the recent technology for discerning differences in composition of ink that cannot be seen by the naked eye. The second indication of genuineness is the initial misnumbering of the um, Tartaria Map and its subsequent correction to 27 as described above. Why would a master forger make such a mistake? After all, there is already a printed map in the 1525 Atlas bearing the number 41. The final argument against forgery is provided by the whiteness of the ink, of the inkless grooves left by the stylus in the area of a heavy thumbing on the Tartary tabula. Had a forger had the sophistication to use a stylus in preparing the drawing on a well-thumbed but otherwise blank piece of 16th century paper, the process of scoring would have pressed the grease of the thumbing into the grooves, with the result that these would appear as dark gray lines. Okay, so, and then the rest, the whiteness of the grooves testifies that they were present before the page started to be thumbed. So, in addition, okay, to the internal evidence, there was discussions of the authenticity, also involves critical appraisal of the content on the map in question and its appropriateness for the postulated date of the cartographical image. In this connection, the author did receive some sharply critical feedback after presenting the provisional outcome of his research. Okay, so a lot of people so a lot of people had an issue with the North and South America. Because they thought it was very, very detailed. Even though the yeah, let's just say, because at the end it says that they believe that he was guessing at some of it. As you can see, some details had been worked out, but not a complete clear picture. The second objection to the authenticity of the maps relates to the verso of the Pacific Tabula, which seems to suggest that it was written long after the discovery of the Strait of Magellan. Also dissolves when the wording is considered in the light of the contemporary linguistic practice. The sentence in question refers to Magellan's discovery of the entrance to the strait that came to bear his name, right here. A literal translation could be a strait, which they call Strait of Magellan, even today, as it was found by him. At issue are the words it's Latin, which can mean, as it often did in the 16th century church Latin, in referring to events that occurred a long time ago, even today. However, the phrase can also mean just like today. and then Fries's first language was German, and his Latin was poor, before German started to become a unified language inspired by Martin Luther's printing press thing. It was spoken and written in a number of different ways. We may accept that Fries's text would have been initially composed in his variant of German. Common German words, and as you get right here, are easily translated into as demonstrated in other texts. Finally, space allows one more objection to the interpretation of the two draft maps to be enlarged upon. It is often asked if it would not have been possible for the two new tabulae modernae to have been made shortly after the publication of the 1525 Strasbourg edition and simply inserted into the printed copy by its owner. Again, the answer seems to be straightforward in the light of the Tartaria maps having been originally given the number 41, already printed on another map in the same atlas. If you have an atlas and add a map in manuscript, you give it a sequential map number, not an already existing one. The recent discovery of the two manuscript maps and their identification as final drafts by Lawrence Fries, made not later than the 26th of February of 1525 for Gruninger's 1525 edition of Ptolemy's Geography, has been counted as a significant event, and the argument, analysis, and interpretations offered here should suffice to identify the maps and their author. No objective and conclusive argument against this identification has emerged, and if no new one comes forward, then the two maps are among the oldest extant to show all Mexico, the Strait of Magellan, the South American continent, the Pacific Ocean, the Mariana Islands, the Philippines, and early modern Russia. So, even right here, the conclusions thus reached, but independently they could not have produced the close dating now achieved. Open and wide-ranging discussion with individuals of academia forums have been a vital element to achieving the identification of the two maps in the articles. So, and even acknowledgments that he worked with a lot of people on this, and that these two maps of Tartaria and of the other side of the world, they're authentic. They weren't made up. They weren't forgeries. They were truly developed maps. And I'll see if I can leave the PDF files down below, and you can have a look for it yourself, if you want to read this whole thing. But yeah, so these maps are authentic. So I want you to keep that in consideration. But anyway, y'all have a wonderful day. I thought I'd do something a little bit different to than showing that World War III is coming and BRICS is about to devastate the United States economy. We'll get back to that next week. But other than that, y'all have a good one. I hope in some way you enjoyed it. Sorry if I made it a little boring by just kind of scrolling down so much while kind of reading. I just wanted to kind of show you that it was just my first time really looking at this deeply, Um, and I wanted to show that, this is actually an authentic peer-reviewed paper. It's for research purposes, understanding Tartaria and these maps in question. Other than that, y'all have a good one. I'm not going to do my special outro. So, peace out and bye.